Let's be honest with ourselves. When someone says prehistoric predator, one image immediately pops into your head: a Tyrannosaurus rex. We've seen them in movies, read about them in books, and they are the undisputed champions of ancient fear in our collective imagination. The T-Rex, the Velociraptor, the Giganotosaurus, these creatures represent the pinnacle of an era defined by brutal tooth-and-claw survival. We're taught to believe that during the age of dinosaurs, the world was at its most dangerous, its most savage, and to an extent, that's true. The Cretaceous was no playground. But here's the thing. The age of dinosaurs wasn't the only time. The world was ruled by terrifying beasts. Picture this: a world where the dinosaurs haven't even evolved yet. The ground is dry, the air is thin, and the planet is recovering from a series of massive volcanic eruptions that have reshaped the continents. This is the late Permian period, a bizarre and forgotten chapter of Earth's history. And it was home to a predator that was, in many ways, even more unsettling than the T-Rex. It didn't have the massive scale of a sauropod hunter, but it had something else: a cunning, a ferocity, and a completely alien set of features that made it the undisputed king of its time. We're about to explore the terrifying reality of this era and meet a creature that didn't just survive, it terrorized. This wasn't a dinosaur. This was something different, something worse, and its reign of terror proves that our modern definition of a prehistoric predator is seriously flawed. This is the eagle, not a dinosaur, not even a true reptile. They were a group of synapsids, creatures on the evolutionary path that would one day lead to mammals. But don't let that fool you into thinking they were anything like the cute, fuzzy critters we know. Today, a gorgonopsid looked like a reptilian dog from a nightmare, with a low-slung powerful body, a short tail, and a massive, disproportionately large skull. It's in that skull where the true terror lay. Gorgonopsids were named after the mythical Greek monster Gorgon, and for good reason. They were armed with something even a T-Rex couldn't claim: massive, serrated, saber-like fangs that could grow up to 5 inches long. These weren't just for show. They were bone-shattering, flesh-piercing weapons designed for a brutal single-strike kill. Instead of the crushing bite of a T-Rex, a gorgonopsid's attack was more precise and surgical, aimed at the neck or throat of its prey. It was a silent, swift death, a terrifying ambush in the shadows of the ancient world. They weren't plodding giants. They were apex predators, built for speed, cunning, and an unholy blend of mammalian and reptilian ferocity, and they were everywhere. For millions of years, these things ruled the late Permian world, hunting everything from small, burrowing creatures to massive herbivores. Their world was a canvas of deep fear, and they were the artists of its most gruesome scenes. What did that world look like, and what other horrors lurked in the shadows alongside the Gorgons? That's exactly where we're going next. Imagine this world, not as a lush jungle, but as a desolate, sun-baked landscape. The Permian was a tough, arid time, a world of harsh survival, and in that world the gorgonopsids weren't alone. The land was home to a variety of bizarre and fantastic creatures, all living under the constant shadow of the Gorgon's reign. There were huge armored herbivores like the Prehistoric, which looked like a prehistoric armadillo, and the giant amphibian Peltobatrachus, a slow-moving tank of a creature. These were not easy prey. They were built for defense, yet they lived in constant terror. The gorgonopsid, with its saber teeth and relentless speed, was the one animal that could consistently take them down. It was the ultimate ambush hunter, a predator that could hide in plain sight and strike with bone-piercing precision. This wasn't a world of epic battles between two equally matched titans. It was a world where one predator held all the power. The Gorgon wasn't just a part of the ecosystem. It was the entire ecosystem's source of fear, and then it was all over. At the end of the Permian, an event known as the Great Dying wiped out over 90% of all life on Earth. The Gorgons, their prey, and their entire world were snuffed out. In the greatest mass extinction the planet has ever seen, the slate was wiped clean, paving the way for a new world and a new kind of terror. So if the gorgonopsid was the most terrifying predator of the Permian, what other forgotten beasts ruled their own eras? That's what we'll explore next. The Great Dying reset the clock. It cleared the board of the gorgonopsids and countless other strange ancient creatures, making room for new life to evolve and new nightmares to emerge. But for our next terrifying predator, we're not going to look to the land at all. We're going back even further, to a time often called the Age of Fishes, the Devonian period. And deep in the murky, primeval seas of that era, there was a king, one of the most powerful and bizarre predators to ever exist. This is the Dunkleosteus, a living tank, a nightmare with a head made of solid bone armor and a jaw that wasn't a jaw at all, but a set of sharp, self-sharpening bone plates. The Dunkleosteus wasn't a shark, and it wasn't a dinosaur. It was a 30-foot-long placoderm, a type of prehistoric fish, and its bite force was estimated to be over 10,000 pounds per square inch, more powerful than a T-Rex's, and far more powerful than any modern shark. It didn't just bite and tear, it crushed its prey, a silent, armored brute that dominated the ancient oceans for millions of years. It was a predator from another world, a testament to the fact that evolution can produce true terror in any environment, on any timeline. But what about this guy? Did similar terrors rule the air? Let's take a look. Did similar terrors rule the sky? The answer is a resounding yes. But once again, our focus on dinosaurs often blinds us to the real monsters. While creatures like the pteranodon are famous for soaring the prehistoric skies, there was one flying predator so immense and bizarre that it defied all common sense. This is the Quetzalcoatlus. Forget everything you think you know about flying reptiles. The Quetzalcoatlus wasn't a small, graceful glider. It was a giant, with a wingspan of over 30 feet. It was the size of a small airplane and as tall as a modern-day giraffe when standing on the ground. It was the largest animal to ever take to the skies. And here's where it gets truly terrifying. It wasn't just a fish-eater from the air. Evidence suggests that this enormous creature was a terrestrial hunter. It would stalk the ground like a colossal stork, using its long, toothless beak to snap up small dinosaurs and other unfortunate prey. Imagine looking out across an ancient plain and seeing a shadow fall over you. You look up expecting to see a dinosaur, but instead, you see a creature so massive it blocks out the sun. A long, slender neck reaching down, its huge beak ready to swallow you whole. This was a nightmare from above, a sky-dwelling predator that was far more alien and unsettling than any bird or dinosaur. It was a king of the air, but also a stealthy and terrifying stalker of the land. Now that we've seen the terrors of the sea and sky, what happened when the dinosaurs finally vanished? Did the world get safer? Not a chance, don't. The dinosaurs are gone. The world has been reset by an asteroid, and a new age has begun, the Cenozoic, the age of mammals. It's easy to assume that with the dinosaurs gone, the world became a gentler place, a land of fuzzy, familiar creatures. But you'd be dead wrong. For millions of years, the world after the dinosaurs was filled with just as much terror, and the top predators were, in some ways, even more chilling. Enter the terror birds. These were not your average ground-dwelling fowl. These were colossal, flightless birds like the Velociraptors, standing up to 10 feet tall with powerful running legs and a hooked beak the size of a man's head. They were the undisputed apex predators of South America, and they hunted with a brutal, aggressive efficiency. Unlike a T-Rex, they weren't slow-moving tanks. They were built for speed, capable of running down prey and delivering a single, crushing blow with their beaks. Their prey wasn't just other animals either. As our own early ancestors began to spread, they would have had to contend with these ferocious, effective, intelligent predators. These were the ultimate ambush hunters, the silent stalkers of the post-dinosaur world. The terror birds, along with other Cenozoic monsters like the giant saber-toothed cat, Smilodon, proved that the end of the dinosaurs was not the end of terror. It was simply the beginning of a new chapter of it, one that brings us surprisingly close to home. But why do we find these non-dinosaur predators so uniquely terrifying, and how do they still haunt our imaginations today? The answer lies in our own human story. So, why do these non-dinosaur predators feel so uniquely terrifying? The answer might be more personal than you think. While the T-Rex is an icon of brute force, it's a threat that's so ancient, so physically distant from our own experience, that it's almost mythical. The fear it inspires is more awe than genuine terror. But the predators we've just talked about, the gorgonopsids, the terror birds, the saber-toothed cats, they tap into something deeper. They tap into our primal fear. For millions of years, our early ancestors weren't dodging they were living in a world ruled by predators that were a far more immediate and intelligent threat. Our fear of a silent stalker in the tall grass, our instinctive reaction to a sudden, explosive charge, and our deep-seated anxiety about being outsmarted by a predator, these aren't from a distant Mesozoic past. They are the direct legacy of having to outwit and outrun the cunning hunters of the Cenozoic, the Gorgon's ambush, the terror bird's blinding speed, the saber-tooth's deadly precision. These are the threats that truly shaped our survival instincts. They were the original boogeymen, the things that our ancestors huddled around a fire to avoid. They weren't just big, they were cunning, agile, and terrifyingly real. And their silent hunt created an echo of fear that still resonates within us today. But as we unearth more of their remains, we're finding that the stories we tell ourselves might be changing all over again. This echo of fear that we feel isn't just a product of our imagination. It's a feeling that science is now starting to validate. In the last few decades, incredible new discoveries and technological advancements have completely changed our understanding of these ancient creatures. Paleontologists aren't just finding bones anymore. They're using cutting-edge tools like CT scans, biomechanical modeling, and isotope analysis to reconstruct these predators' lives in astonishing detail. For example, we now know that terror birds likely hunted with a unique hatchet-like motion, using their powerful beaks to deliver multiple crushing blows to their prey's head. The gorgonopsid's saber teeth weren't for ripping and tearing, but for a single, deep, precision strike. Each new fossil, each new piece of evidence, is like a page from a book that tells us the true, and often more horrifying, story of their lives. These weren't just generic monsters. They were highly evolved killing machines, each with a specialized method for terrorizing their world. These discoveries are showing us that our primal fears are rooted in real-world evolutionary battles. The terror isn't just in the size or the teeth, it's in the specialized, intelligent, and brutal way these creatures lived and hunted. But ultimately, what do we gain from looking into this abyss of ancient terror? Why are we so drawn to the stories of these forgotten predators? The answer is more profound than you might think. So, what is the ultimate conclusion? Why are we so drawn to these stories of forgotten predators? It's because deep down we're a species that was forged in the fire of being prey. The gorgonopsids, the terror birds, the saber-toothed cats, they represent the primal threats that shaped our instincts, our fears, and ultimately, our ability to survive. Their terror isn't just a historical footnote, it's part of our DNA. These creatures remind us that the world was once ruled by forces beyond our control, and that our very existence is a testament to the cunning and resilience of our ancestors. The most terrifying prehistoric predator wasn't a single beast. It was the ever-present silent threat that existed for millions of years before and after the age of dinosaurs. It was the ambush in the fog, the shadow from the sky, the fast-moving stalker in the grass. It was the feeling of being hunted. And in exploring their stories, we aren't just looking at a world that was, we're looking at ourselves. We're seeing where we came from, and understanding that the fears we carry are an echo of a distant, more brutal past. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the deep past. If you're as fascinated by these ancient monsters as I am, you'll want to stick around for what's next. Let me know in the comments below, which of these non-dinosaur predators do you think was the most terrifying, and why? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the forgotten corners of history, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing.